So our first guest this evening is the Mr. Derrick Braxton. What's going on, Derrick?
I'm chilling, man. Having a very, very good time downtown, man. It's been great to see the transformation that's happened under very, very tough and extraordinary odds. New Brunswick has bounced back, and it's been really, really great right now, right? If you walk the city and walk George Street right now, I feel like there's a new thing happening.
Awesome.
True.
So before we get into that, let's take a step back for a minute. Introduce the people to who you are, your upbringing here in the city of New Brunswick, your passion for music, etc. Let them know.
Sure. My name is Derrick Braxton. I'm born and raised in the city of New Brunswick. My great-great-great-grandparents were born in the city. My grandmother was a Bergen. My grandfather was a Braxton. The Bergens came in here as slaves in the city of New Brunswick. We've been here for a very, very long time. My grandmother was an educator at Roosevelt Elementary School, a secretary there for 35 years. Joan Braxton was a pinnacle, a cornerstone, if you would, within the city of New Brunswick education system. If you worked within the city of New Brunswick education system within the last 30 years, you know that name. And also, my grandfather was the heads of Parks and Recreation for the city of New Brunswick for a period of time, and also on its city council. And his good friends, Al Cooper, was the mayor of this city. We go all the way back, and my name means a lot to me. But me, myself, I'm a graduate of Hampton University for undergrad, Rutgers University for master's degree in jazz composition and classical percussion. And I love this city through and through. I'm an ambassador of this city. I'm one of the people that speaks about New Brunswick when I'm not in New Brunswick. As I know that you are, Kway, as well.
Absolutely. And I remember you even spoke about some trips to other neighboring cities, right? Here in New Jersey, in regards to your outlook on always making New Brunswick a better place, right?
Of course. I mean, you know, what day is it? It's
Thursday.
Today. It's Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
On Tuesday, myself and the wonderful Dave Blevins, if you don't know about him, ask about him, went to Rawway and to Morristown. And we also, too, have been doing every Tuesday, going to a different municipality and just seeing what they do well and bringing them goods back to New Brunswick. Hopefully New Brunswick is a place where we constantly want to learn. We want to learn and bring things back to New Brunswick in order to make this town better. And I think that's extremely important. Extremely. So, cool.
So tell everyone all of the initiatives you're involved in. Because I know you do Hub City Music Festival. You DJ.
Sure.
Dillinger Room when it was Dillinger Room, Fado Americano. Tell us about your work around the city.
Well, I mean, around the city, you know, I thought it an appropriate thing to make sure that digital music, which a lot of times has been marginalized. Digital music is at the forefront. DJs, production sets were on the forefront. It started as a dream and a thought from a young man named Latif Demir out of Jersey City. Jersey City, we have a faction called Sound and Color, and Sound and Color is we're just bringing in people who have been marginalized as far as the instruments that they play. Trumpet players are mentioned, horn players are mentioned, keyboardists are mentioned, drummers are mentioned, but people that work on MPCs, people that work on digital machines are never mentioned for their craft. And I thought it a thing to bring those people to the forefront. It started out with DJing at places like the Dillinger Room and doing that for free for 8 weeks in a row, and then building a crowd inevitably to where it would like turn into something bigger. Fado Americano, where Parker of Destination Dogs gave us an opportunity, and Jackie, the Queen, gave us an opportunity to rock out there and try some different stuff out downtown. Stuff that just wasn't guitar and vocal. Things that were off of the beaten path. And yeah, but I mean, music is my thing. You know, I have 26 placements, industry heavy, 2 Grammys and 6 American Music Awards. And I thought it very, very important to bring back that level of excellence back to New Brunswick. And we've been endeavoring it for it's going to be bigger and better. Sure.
Definitely, you froze for a little minute, but we got you back.
My fault. Okay.
So talk about the importance of music within the community in regards to how it helps to invigorate. Similar, I mean, it is a performing art, right? We'll get into visual arts later in the segment, but talk about the importance of music within the culture of community and what it does to heighten the sense of community and bring people together.
Well, I mean, in these times, Aquaus, these are very trying times that we're going through. They're trying times, and we're in different waters now. I don't think that anyone has ever seen the amount of disjoint that is happening now ever. So music is extremely important when it comes to bringing people together in times of strife, adversity, and peril. I mean, you know, there's people dying outside, and music has always been a balm, BLM, or BALM, a balm, a healing factor. And I believe right now, man, music right now in this town, you always hear about the New Brunswick basement show scene. You hear about the New Brunswick punk scene that happened in the 90s and the late 80s and on to today. But I believe that music on all formats is extremely important in the healing process for all these things. It answers a lot of questions that we have. The lyrics are healing mechanisms. And there's so many different genres of music out here, Aquaus, within such a small, confined area. It's incredible. I'm always invigorated creatively and artistically, just off of how many different kinds of genres exist within the city of New Brunswick. I'm blown away by it. And just when you think you know everything, you quickly find out that you know nothing about the kinds of music that comes out of here, the kinds of messages that come from the music, and most of it is, I would say 99.9% of it is positive and for the city. New Brunswick people who live in New Brunswick, no matter how long, they love hard. They love this city hard. Aquaus, as a person who's been here, you're not a native of New Brunswick, but as a person who's been here, I feel as though you have a great perspective, and I consider you just a New Brunswick guy. New Brunswick, people who touch this town, for some reason, it's polarizing, man. People love this town, or they have opinions about this town. But either way, it's beautiful, man. It's a beautiful place to live. I've always come back here. I've lived all over the world, and it's always landed me right back here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, looking at what has brought me here and why I continue to stay here. I mean, I went to Rutgers University, right?
Sure.
So I was pretty much here since 2009. I was living in Piscataway at the time,
Sure.
but I started
all day.
Yeah, I started. Shout out to Sean P-Way, right? I started at Rutgers in January of 2009, and then I graduated December 2011, right? So actually, I graduated December 2010. Technically, January 2011 was my last semester, and I moved to Miami, and then I came back, lived in Piscataway, and then I moved to New Brunswick. So, like me going to Rutgers, and then now being a teacher, seeing how the public schools operate, as you mentioned, polarizing. Like we literally get to see the Rutgers side. We get to see where the locals are. I get to see and interact with students and the young people throughout the city.
Sure.
Having a sense of the art scene, music scene, restaurant scene, being a partner at Seaburger, right? Like a
Sure.
crazy,
Sure.
a
Shout
crazy
out to
mix.
Seaburger, Seaburger is doing incredible right now.
Yeah,
Really,
shout out to
of
Seaburger.
course.
And it's just so much potential, I feel, when we have conversations about New Brunswick and we have conversations about the growth and transformation of New Brunswick. So, being that you were born and
Sure.
raised in New Brunswick, how would you describe the transformation you've seen in the years growing up here?
New Brunswick was a drastically different place, especially the downtown area. I mean, the hotel known as the Eldridge Hotel. Well, first off, demographic wise, cultural demographic, New Brunswick right now is, I believe, correct if I'm wrong, but I believe it's around 50% of Latin descent or living in the city of New Brunswick. When I was growing up, it was 30% African American descent. And African Americans dominated as far as, not dominate is the wrong word, but African Americans were the main demographic within the school system. And I think that the school system is always a telltale of what's going on in the city.
Yeah.
And you being an educator, it's what the kids look like. It's kind of like what's going on. And it was a drastically different place. It's a very dangerous place downtown New Brunswick. I think that leaps and bounds have happened in order to make New Brunswick a safer place. And listen, man, we have a long way to go on this whole thing. But there have been faculties and a lot of people to make sure that New Brunswick is, one, safe for everybody, and two, inclusive for everybody. And I think everybody is doing the best job that they can. Everybody can do better, though, myself included, and making sure that everyone is included. But this was a very different place when I was a child. I mean, I remember like just riding bikes through the city and playing basketball and doing different things from park to park and from place to place and knowing different places and different people in different places. And I mean, my crew, not my crew, but the people I hung out with, it was actually Keith's crew. And I see he just joined. Keith Jones, it was myself, Keith Jones, and a handful of other people who went to every park. New Brunswick is separated by parks almost. And Baker Park being all the way uptown, Pine Tree Park being in the middle, and then the Ledge being all the way at Rutgers University. And there were very few young people who had the moxie to actually go across town. And we were guys who just rode our bikes and would go to every court just to play basketball. And in that, we're building some skills that we didn't even know that we would need to possess. But very different place. George Street was quite dangerous, actually. Quite dangerous. I mean, you're talking about, I was born in 1981. You're talking about the beginning of, crack hitting the streets. And you're talking about Memorial Homes actually being a place. Actually, Memorial Homes was a place of love, honor, and respect. It was a bunch of great people mostly great people that grew up in Memorial Homes. Some people call it the projects, some people call it Memorial Homes. And in Right Place, my Nana lived in Right Place. My great grandmother lived in Right Place. So we were constantly all around the city of New Brunswick. Yeah, man. I mean, it was a place of, but also too was a place of excellence. Our family and our parents. I just saw Flatline and Breon just tagged in. His grandfather is Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott is a pillar in this community. It's my grandparents my grandparents' crew was Mr. Scott, Mr. Cooper, Mr. East, and my grandfather, Mr. Braxton. So it's just a changing of the guard. But I believe in going to these other towns of Aquaus. Every Tuesday, as I said, we go to these other towns. And we have to drive. We go to these towns and they're wonderful and they're great and there's food and there's beverage and there's everything, right? And we have to drive back into New Brunswick. And we drive around New Brunswick. And we have a bunch to offer. We have a bunch to offer. A lot of people want to be here. A lot of people need to be here. It's a great place. I love my city, man. Really
So you mentioned you picked up a few skills, right? Going back and forth across New Brunswick. Are there any of those skills you would like to share in regards to what you learned, what you picked up?
I mean, it's it's I guess basic skills on dealing on different sides of any city. If you go to Lower East Side, the difference between Lower East Side and Upper West are drastically different places.
Yeah.
You really it's acclimating with different people. There's different people that live in different places, and if you have a scope, first off, if you have a willingness to know all the people in a place. I mean, not a lot of people venture into places of New Brunswick. There's been a strange dialogue that New Brunswick is so dangerous that you can't travel it. I think that those things are false. And if you travel around, if you speak to some of the people on any corner and anywhere in New Brunswick, pretty welcoming people. I don't know if have you seen the same as being a person that's not from the city of New Brunswick? Have you caught the warmth of this place?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Before we even segue into our next question, because I like what you said, because that will take us into you being a bridge builder initially, is Keith's in the chat right now. So in fact, he said when Keith throws the alley, just catch it and dunk it. So Keith was one of the first people I connected to in regards to We Love Hub City. I remember he sent me a DM on Twitter just to ask about that initiative. And then we connected from there, right? So that's someone who is working for the city, taking the initiative to reach out to someone who just decided to create something. That doesn't happen everywhere. It doesn't happen in larger cities, maybe like Jersey City or Newark, right? So when we talk about New Brunswick and we talk about it being a special city, it's because it has enough going on, but it's not too big where it has too much going on. So that's what keeps the community element to it.
Let me say this. Keith takes the bullets, man. I mean, you bring up a very good point, Aquaus. You can't just run up and talk to. You try to go to one of these other municipalities and run up and talk to an influencer in that town, someone who actually has influence. You try to do that. It's very difficult to do, and you run into a lot of brick walls, right?
Yeah.
Keith is a guy that you can speak to about this stuff. You can talk to him. He's always been approachable. I mean, wouldn't you want that from anybody who has a say in things, whether they do on whatever level they have a say, like a person who's approachable. Keith has done so much for the city; it's ridiculous. He's probably one of the only human beings. He's one of the people. That's one of the reasons why I'm still here. Truly, it's because Keith is so cavalier, just about being about this city, living in the city, about this city, and making sure that it's the best it possibly can be, and challenging the ideas as well. Everything's not hunky dory all the time, but making sure that all these ideas are challenged. I mean, he's a great friend. He's been a great friend for some time. I mean, I've known Keith since I was about 8 or 9 years old. He sent me an article today. This is the thing. He sent me an article today of a clipping from the Pop Warner team that we had when we were 9 years old. I mean, these are the relationships that happen in New Brunswick, and these are things that happen behind the scenes. But it's really great to be around someone that you've known for that long. Better, worse, good, bad, indifferent, up and down, around the same people. and that's where growth happens, and that's how the city can grow.
Absolutely, and we're continuing to grow, and even with guys like Louis, who we're about to introduce in a few minutes, like he's super new to the city, right? I think not even a year yet. We've embraced him with open arms, just like we would embrace anyone else with open arms. And before we get into that, what would you say would be the soundtrack for New Brunswick? Before you answer, anyone who has questions for Derrick, please drop questions in the chat. Anyone with questions?
Sure thing. Can I walk around this spot real quick? Because
walk around the spot. Show us around.
This spot is dope, man. It really is. A lot of care was taken with Salt Restaurant. Hold on, man. They do an incredible job out here, man. They really do.
So we're getting a live tour right now.
They do such an incredible job. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing?
You see these wonderful oysters that they're serving out here. The music is always right and cool.
Drinks are always cold and fresh.
There you go. Always. And you can always see the vibes outside. Everybody social distance. It's a beautiful thing, man.
The ambassador himself.
Louis is different, though. If we're talking about Louis.
Let's get that soundtrack first.
New Brunswick is a different question. Also, the boy Keneal right here.
Very fly shirt you got on there, my boy.
Nice.
Thank
the wavies, right?
Thank you.
It's nice.
Appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah, man. I mean, the soundtrack of New Brunswick?
Soundtrack of New Brunswick.
I mean, man, there's a lot of things to pick. You know what? Right now, it's New Jack Swing, man.
Okay.
Like right now, as I walk outside, just because I love my city so much, we're in the middle of the street right now. And we're in the middle of the street because Keith and the city of New Brunswick and the cultural center and the city center have all made this happen out here. You see that?
We see it.
It's a bunch
Live
of
in center.
out here, man.
It's a beautiful day outside too.
It's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful place, man. It really is. I don't know about. I mean, I would say New Jack Swing, but soundtrack wise.
I mean, mix it up. It could be a mixtape. Give us a few joints.
Well, I mean, okay, I'm gonna give it up to my. I feel like the city of New Brunswick is a pretty epic place, right? So I would give it up to my boy Ennio Morricone, who just passed away. Ennio Morricone, some people call him, the Italian composer. He did the score for the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and a lot of westerns. I think that New Brunswick, polarizing, yes, but also epic on scale. New Brunswick is a colonial town. It's been here for a long time. It has a very, very long history, right? So, I would say one of those scores would be the backdrop. Not
Got it.
too deep, but
Got it. And Louis has a question for you. He said, if money or red tape wasn't an issue, what's the one event you'd like to see take place in New Brunswick?
I want the rooftop.
I feel you on that. We definitely need some rooftops.
I want rooftops. Seriously. I mean, I think that these things will happen. I believe my city, so I think it will actually happen. Look at this, man. Very cool. Our city, my city. They just heating up. It's gonna get real cool in a second.
Dope.
Very, very dope.
So speaking of Louis, who's about to come on, tell us, so that we could segue him into this conversation. Tell us how the both of you met and how that discussion went.
Myself and Louis met through a young lady, a really, really cool young lady who does PR for, or some of the PR for Salt Restaurant. and like we met, and then we linked up again, and we began to speak about just like what we could do, how we could do art pieces within the city. And Louis is a really, really cool guy. I was intrigued by him just because he had moved in here and he was so steadfast and very, very excited, extremely excited about what was going on downtown and how he can contribute, right? So we started kicking it. We spoke the first time. The first time he ran into the gauntlet. It was myself, Keith Jones, a bunch of people who were Zach Wright, a bunch of people who were pretty influential within the city of New Brunswick and do really, really good things. And man, we really tried to pin this guy down. I looked at his Instagram and I knew that Louis was going to be somebody that we wanted to keep home. We wanted to keep here.
Yeah.
And he was completely receptive. We didn't really have to twist his arm too much, you know, on what was going on and how things were going. We didn't have to twist his arm. So I knew that Louis was a dude that we had to keep here. Being an ambassador of this place, I knew that Louis we had to keep. And I'm walking to right now, right, to the New Brunswick Performing Arts Center, which is right behind me.
Got it.
We sit right here. This is a wonderful building, an incredible building that was built, and Louis had an opportunity to stay here because he endeavored in the arts, and he really wanted to be here. So he actually stays in this amazing building, and I can say that because there's a lot of security at this building. And I was like, yo, man, Louis, man, what do you want to do? He's like, yo, I just want to put myself in a position to affect other human beings. I want to put myself in a position to help other human beings, and I want to put myself in a position to just really honor and respect activism, things that are going on. I mean, Louis he's a triple threat. I'm very, very excited that he's so excited about our town. You know, I don't know, man. I think that's what it's all about. If we're building something, Aquaus, if we're building something, then shouldn't people want to be here?
Absolutely.
Louis was the guy who wanted to be here. We didn't have to convince him. It was really cool.
Absolutely. So without further ado, that's a perfect segue for Louis to hop in. There was one last question while we're waiting for Louis for you, yes. D. How can beat makers help grow the community?
I think we're already doing it. There's a bunch of people and a bunch of beat makers you need to know about. I'll throw them in the comments as Louis is talking. But follow Sound and Color. Sound and Color is based out of Jersey City, but also Tracy Origio over at the Cultural Center was smart enough in order to kit a lot of events with Sound and Color, which is based in Jersey City, with the city of New Brunswick. So we've been doing dual shows over cross cities for a long period of time. So I would say that beat makers are already affecting the city. We've already had them there. It's for the people to seek them out. Seriously, it's not just about providing a backing track to whatever artist. Now it's about they need their own reign and their own thing. As you see with Versus, with Swiss Beats, a very good friend and a mentor of mine. I mean, beat makers are more than beat makers; they're influencers as well, aren't they?
So anything pertaining to music, beat making, production, definitely holla at Derrick. He'll be around in the chat. Definitely connect with him. And we're about to bring Louis on. Derrick, thank you so much, man. I will see you out there. All right?
Absolutely.
Peace. So we're about to bring Louis on right now. Just sent the request. Thanks everyone for joining, staying, being a part of the conversation. Any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. Garden of Healing Yoga in the house. I saw Arm in the house. Arm Gives. Shout out to John and his team over there. Silent Night. So here we go. Louis, what's going on?
Yo, what's up, my brother? What's going on?
Everything is good. Everything is good. We're ready for you, man. Everyone was hyping you up.
I know, man. Anytime I go anywhere with Derrick, he just hypes me up. I don't even know what to say after that. You know, man. Thank you, Derrick. But thank you for the intro. Thank you, Aquaus, for having me on the platform. I appreciate it. And you know, let's get on with it.
Absolutely, we're happy to have you. So, artist, educator, change agent. Tell us about your story as an artist, man. What got you into the arts? What keeps you inspired creatively?
So I mean, I've always been in one form or another an artist. You know, my mother, she was a graphic designer and an artist for like 30 years. So I kind of got the bug from her. You know, as far as back as I can remember in kindergarten, drawing and stuff like that. But in terms of really becoming an artist, it wasn't until my late 20s that I became an artist. You know, I went to school to be a high school art teacher. I went to Montclair State University, graduated with a degree in fine arts, then became a teacher. I taught at Perth Amboy High School for 5 years, and then I ended up quitting to do art full time. So, you know, it was always in my blood. I just never knew what to actually do with it, and I didn't know that it was possible to become an artist. So it took me a little longer than expected, but, you know, I'm here now. And, you know, what inspires me really is making change, you know, and it's evident in my work, it's evident in things that I do. You know, my main goal as an artist is to make history, and make history in the way of giving the youth something to look towards and aspire to. You know, because as a kid, I never had that African-American or Latino male that was in the art gallery and art history book to look up to. So if I can be that role model for the kids growing up that are coming up after me, you know, that's my main focus. So that's my long-term goal, and that's the reason why I do what I do. And yeah.
Got it. What impact would you say, being a teacher, working in education, what impact would you say working as an educator and working in schools has had on your trajectory as an artist, especially considering you're no longer an educator? Your years as a teacher, how would you say that has impacted your work?
Man, it's impacting my work, it's impacting my life. I can't even, to be honest with you, this conversation of how teaching impacted me can go on forever. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible, but I'll give you a few points. One of the biggest points is, you know, working with kids, you get humbled. You know what I mean? You really, it opens your eyes and it gets you to realize there's a lot more shit going on than you actually realize. You know, as adults, you know, we kind of have our life settled, we're kind of comfortable, but when you're teaching kids, you really get to see what's really going on. And, you know, I never forget, I had one student who came from Mexico. He was getting straight A's. He barely knew any English. And I started to, you know, he was falling asleep in my class, and I tried to talk to him, ask him what was going on. He proceeds to tell me that, you know, he moved from Mexico by himself to meet up with his brother in the States. He's living in a one-bedroom apartment, paying like $1,500 a month in rent. He works from 3 to 12 p.m. as a 15-year-old. And this kid barely knows English and is still getting straight A's. So, you know, when I hear things like that, it kind of puts my life in perspective. And I tell myself, you know, why would I ever complain when I have such abundance and such, you know, great things in my life, when there's kids this age going through things like this. So, it affects me in that way. But, in terms of my work, it gets me to think, bigger. Like I said, I want to be a role model for them and for the students that I taught and continue to teach in other ways. So, just those experiences that I hear from them, the experiences or the exchanges, the relationships that I had as a teacher have impacted my work. And, it's a long list of things, but, I tell people all the time, if there's one thing that you should do is become a teacher for at least a year, because it'll change your life for the better, for the better. It'll change your life for the better.
Yeah, I'm actually moving into my 4th year as a teacher, 5th grade. So
Okay.
I definitely understand what you mean. I'm looking at the comments right now. Yes, everyone has a story. My mother always said we educators need to ask why way more. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us about your entrance into New Brunswick. Being that, you recently moved to New Brunswick, what brought you to the city? And before we discuss the mural, how are you looking to contribute as an artist to the city of New Brunswick in regards to everything that's happening right now?
I was listening to you guys talk about New Brunswick, man, and let me tell you, New Brunswick was the furthest place on the map for me, right? I come from Elizabeth, and New Brunswick's like 40, 45 minutes away. That drive, man, I always dreaded that drive coming down here to Rutgers and doing all that. So MB was the furthest place on the map for me, right? But the way I got connected down here was I had a studio in Hoboken. I was living in Elizabeth at the time. I had a studio in Hoboken, and that rent, started to creep up and get a little too high in price. So I had to make a decision. I think it was the month of November, maybe 2 years ago. I had to make a decision whether to cut the lease or keep it. Coincidentally, I got an email from the State Council of the Arts saying that New Brunswick was looking for artists to move in. They were, they had this program where they were going to move into New Brunswick Performing Arts Center. And these programs are kind of competitive from what I've, heard and seen. So I didn't really think twice about applying, but then I said, you know what, let me just apply for the heck of it, see what happens. So I applied. A few weeks later, I got a call back. They told me I got approved. And I came to see the building, I came to see the town, and I kind of, I fell in love, and I applied for the program, I got in, and I moved down here. And when I got here, I saw so much opportunity. Like Derrick was talking about earlier, New Brunswick is a very, very cultural and vibrant town, city. And I got here, I'm like, where, what's going on? Where the artists at? Where's the cultural events at? So I started, networking and talking to people. Like he said, I met that young lady that introduced us, and we started, brainstorming on ideas. But, I think my goal for New Brunswick is the goal I have for any place that I'm at. It's just to make the place better than when I got here, to contribute in some way, shape, or form, to be a voice for people that really don't have a voice for themselves or can't express themselves the way they want. And, just to do my part. I feel as a human being, as an artist, I'm obligated to do my part to make things better and make some kind of change. So, that's my goal for New Brunswick. And, I speak to Derrick a lot, and we talk about ways that we can kind of make things spruce up and vibrant and include the arts and make change. So, that's my goal. And I think we made some pretty decent progress in the few months that I've been here. I've only been here about 6 months, but it's a great place to live, and, I love it here.
Absolutely. I mean, you've only been here for 6 months. However, for many people, the last 6 months may feel like 6 years for some, due to everything that's happening. So describe your experience as an artist going through COVID-19, dealing with COVID-19, how that's impacted your work, as well as the recent social tension and unrest happening across the country. How is everything coming together? How has that not only impacted your work as an artist, but also impacted you just as a human being?
Yeah, it's challenging times for all of us, And hold on, let me fix my camera. Challenging times for all of us, and I think for artists, in particular, it can be a little scary, because we have a very a unique profession in how we go about our business. We spend a lot of time alone, in the studio, in confinement. So the quarantine for a lot of us wasn't too bad, but when it comes time for exhibitions and galleries, that's our time to get out and kind of network and socialize. So with those things gone, it did take a toll. I can't front, but oddly enough, the first few weeks of the quarantine, I was a little hesitant and a little fearful. I wouldn't say fearful, but cautious of what the future was going to look like. But for some strange reason, after like 2 weeks, I was super optimistic. I saw the quarantine and the pandemic as a chance for artists to really anchor down and create, because in times like these, people are looking for culture. People are turning to music. People are turning to the arts for comfort, for encouragement. So I felt like, although we were going through a challenging time, I felt like the artists were really going to be able to thrive during the quarantine and during the pandemic. And for me, it's been just that. I've been able to create work, and I've been given a lot of opportunities up until this point. So I'm super grateful. But it was weird. I was scared, and then I was like, yo, I'm about to get at it. Like, there's no better time to get at it than now. So then, we had that, and then, George Floyd murder happened, and all this, social unrest started occurring. So that was really, that really took a lot out of me. As artists, I think we feel a little stronger than most people.
Yeah.
So when that happened, my first reaction was to start creating work. And I'm working on a few pieces now, but, a week or two into that, I felt like I had to do something more than just create. And, me and two of my homegirls put together a protest in Elizabeth, which turned out to be, way more than we expected. And that kind of led into a few other things, but, we're going to get into that. So, the quarantine and the social injustice issues have really affected my work in a positive way. And I feel it's an opportunity for us as artists to really become a voice for the movements and for the times that, we're living in.
Yeah, absolutely. Now's definitely a time for us to help to amplify and elevate the voices that need to be heard the most, which of course includes artists, creators, and those like yourself who are helping to get people to think through the arts, right? And use our respective platforms to create social change, which is an amazing thing. So creating with a purpose, I'm just looking through the comments right now. Yes, we also need to allow our artists to focus on their own mental, emotional health as we do with ourselves. Absolutely. Absolutely. So in addition to the protests, your involvement in the protests, leading protests in Elizabeth, and then recently being a part of a mural project here in the city of New Brunswick, tell us what that experience was like for you, having the opportunity to be a part of the Chalk Art Initiative with Middlesex County, and having the opportunity to literally create a butterfly motif at our intersection downtown, right by the Performing Arts Center. Let us know how that unfolded for you. Like, walk us through that process.
So first, that was it was an amazing opportunity. It's something that I envisioned all that happening, but when you see it actually happening, it's just incredible to watch unfold. But that's something that, a lot of times artists have, I don't want to say anxiety, but we get fearful of what's going to come, right? So you got to make sure you plant seeds that are going to grow in 6 months to a year. And meeting with Derrick, I met with Derrick maybe, let's say, December, January. We've been having conversations back and forth. Nothing really ever materialized. But, as an artist, I've realized that you have to have patience, let things develop. So we've been having conversations back and forth for about 4 months now. And, you know, he came to me with the opportunity to do some chalk art. Before anything with protesting had even happened, that ended up not materializing into anything. And then after the protest, you know, he approached me with Tracy of Arts in Brunswick, and they said they wanted to create a piece based on the Black Lives Matter movement. And, you know, as soon as they told me that, my mind just went, all right, I've been creating and I've been stirring up ideas for the past, you know, month. Now's the time I'm really gonna kick it up and execute.
Yeah.
So within a day or two, I gave them back the proposal with my design. You know, they liked it. They brought it to the higher powers that be. They approved it, and, you know, the pro process started moving forward. But just to be able to have that opportunity to create something so powerful, right, in the middle of downtown New Brunswick, in a place that I really have been adopted by. I know New Brunswick, but I don't know like you guys know it. To do something that large as, you know, a newcomer, more or less, was just amazing. You know, I would have never thought that they give me the opportunity, somebody that's not even from the city, to come and do something that impactful, so powerful. But just to see it, you know, happen there in that area. And not only that, to see the members of the community come by, talk to me, you know, compliment the work that I'm doing. I had maybe like 10 to 15 people that were walking by, come and stop and help. You know, I told them, like, yo, listen, I'm getting paid for this. You guys, I don't want you guys to help. Like, no, we feel like we have to. Like, all right. So I gave them a paintbrush, I gave them some paint, and they, 92-degree weather, they were sitting there painting with me for a few hours.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing to see. And, you know, to watch the kids, the students in New Brunswick Middle School, come and help out. And then I had some of my students from Perth Amboy come through. It was just an amazing experience to not only, you know, create it, but to see the engagement within the community and the youth to help me execute. It was just, you know, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, one thing that I really appreciated coming out there, seeing you at work, was seeing your family help you, seeing your students help you. That means a lot, because a lot of times we may be put on to different opportunities, and not everyone brings their people with them, to be honest with you. So you brought your people with you, your family, as well as your students, which is huge. Talk about how you view the importance of relationships with yourself and your students, yourself, and even in your community of New Brunswick, just your relationships and the importance of having those solid relationships.
Yeah, I mean, with my students, my relationship with them is super tight. And I think, you know, as an educator, I mean, you know this, you know, your students they grow to be your best friends. They grow to be your little brothers, your little sisters, your kids, because you see them 8 hours a day. And even though I've been out of the profession 2 years now, I still keep in contact with a lot of them. If it's not to give them encouragement, see how they're doing, is to check up and make sure they're doing what the hell they got to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, bringing them onto this project was super important to me because, and they'll tell you this straight up, the last 2 years of my career as a teacher, I was telling them, yo, you guys are going to see me in the newspaper. You're going to see me on TV. You better get my signature now because it's going to be worth some money once I leave. So get it now. I was telling them that for the last 2 years. And it came true,
yeah,
more or less. But to bring them back into a project this big during a time of this, you know, a historical time, right? I felt that was the most important part, because I could only imagine as a 15, 16, even 20-year-old kid getting put into a project like this, what it would do for my confidence, what it would do for my vision, what it would do for me as a person or as an artist of color, to see what is actually possible, you know, and to see somebody like myself doing it. You know, I felt that was super duper important. And like I told you guys earlier, I could have I know I have artist friends that do way better work than these kids. And they could have helped me get the job done in a day less than what the students did. But I felt it was more important to bring them on, whether they were good artists or not, just to give them that exposure and that, you know, that experience of seeing somebody like myself do this, and also coaching them throughout the way. I'm like, yo, listen, this project wasn't put together overnight. this is 6 months of me building a relationship with somebody that I've met in the county or the city that I didn't even know. You know, we just maintained the relationship. And this is how this materialized. It didn't come overnight. So you got to remember, when you're trying to get an opportunity like this, these things are years in the making. You got to be super patient, super optimistic, and super, what's the word I'm looking for? Super, you got to make sure your word counts.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes back to the relationship with Derrick and I. You know, we met when we got here in November, December, and we maintained that communication, that relationship. And, you know, relationships, especially as an artist, is super important, as a person too. But, you know, as an artist, you're in control of your career, your destiny. And a lot of that comes down to networking and relationships. And, you know, as long as you treat people good and you maintain a good relationship with the world, the universe is going to repay you in ways that you can't even imagine. So, you know, that was my main thing for the kids. And, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll get deep, but
absolutely.
I'll cut it right there.
So, Yasmina, yeah, being intentional is essential. Growth, manifest. So these are all words that are literally everything to our evolution as people. So everyone in the comment section, thank you for chiming in. Interpersonal communication skills are important. Y'all are really teaching that to the kids. Absolutely. So, Louis, I'm glad you mentioned coaching, because while you were out there, I was observing, and there were some challenging moments, right? Some challenging moments, aside from the heat, some water involved, and you kept your composure. You kept your composure. You stayed well in the pocket as a leader out there on the field. Tell us about that process, overcoming challenges, overcoming the obstacles, and dealing with setback. How do you handle that?
So to give you guys a little bit of context that are watching, in the middle of the mural, actually no, not in the middle. I'm not gonna get too far into detail with it because I don't want to blow anybody's spot. But I want to say we were about 90% done with this mural. And there was a puddle, a mini lake of water that was cut from some line, started dripping into the mural and kind of like ruined it, right? Just as we were about to finish. I looked calm and collected, but inside I was fuming. I was fuming. And you know why? Because I would have been cool with the rain, you know, the weather, but it was something that was like a malfunction or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, inside I was, you know, going a little nuts, but I did keep my composure, and the reason I did was because I know I had people watching, right? I had students watching, I had kids there, you know, we had the middle school there. I had, you know, the officials that would help me coordinate the mural, Tracy and the whole team. You know, there's a lot of eyes on me. And I don't know, man, to be honest with you, it goes back to my years of teaching. You know, teaching really, really, really builds your patience. Really builds your patience. You know that. You know that for a fact.
Absolutely.
If you have patience, I mean, you need patience to teach. If not, you ain't gonna last, right? So teaching really helped me build that character and that patience. But, you know, to be honest with you, it goes back to my upbringing. My dad was always telling me and my brother, never be a follower, always be a leader. And that's kind of the mentality I've always had, is just, I need to be in charge of what, not in charge, but I need to be leading something that's going on and making sure that things go smoothly. You know, throughout the 2 days that we were doing the mural, I really didn't have a chance to paint too much. I was doing more delegating than painting because of, you know, interviews and just everything that was going on. But yeah, I mean, it was a challenge to coordinate all those people. I tell you, we had about 25 people there on Monday. And I have 5 interviews, ABC7 and AJ12, asking me to do stuff. And I'm like, oh, So I really had to, that was a real test of my patience, of my leadership skills. And I appreciate the compliment, because I didn't see it until you guys mentioned it, what was actually going on. I just thought it was second nature. I'm like, all right, let's see what I got to do. But, you know, as you talk about it, I kind of appreciate that moment. And it brings it all into perspective, so.
Well, it's important. People are always watching, and just like the people are watching us tonight, as we get into the last 2 minutes. Anyone who's out there right now with any questions, please drop questions in the chat for Louis. And Louis, as we literally get into the last 2 minutes of episode 5, what would you say is the best way for people to stay in touch with your work as you continue to grow and evolve and stay active here in the city?
Right here, my Instagram is probably the primary place you guys can reach out and keep in touch. On my website, louisblocker.com. My name is the same on all platforms, so Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. But yeah, and as far as that goes, you guys, anybody out there is more than willing to send me any questions or reach out to me. I'll respond. I'll give you as much advice as I can. I'm a big believer in giving out game. You know, so if anybody is trying to make it or needs any advice, I'm an open book. So.
All right, so we're down to about a minute now. One question: are you mainly a painter, or do you create art with other mediums?
Mainly a painter. Eventually, I will get into other mediums like sculpture, maybe videography. I want to do a short film once or twice, but you know, just painting for now. Painting and murals.
Got it. What type of beard oil are you using?
Yo, this beard is 100% natural. Nothing in it. Nothing at all.
Man, I saw that beard. I think I saw the beard glistening on the ABC 7.
That was more the sweat from that hot ass day.
Right. Let me see. If you travel back in time and met your teenage self, what advice would you give him? We're gonna run out of time on this one. We may have to take this one offline, but keep that question in mind. That's from Hey Rabbit.